Hey, Sarah the Surrogate here, and I was just checking in to give y'all a brief update. I am 34 weeks pregnant, and things that have been happening. At 32 weeks, we had an anatomy scan where baby looked great, and we were cleared from perinatology, so everything is just a move forward with the birth center, unless something were to pop up. I do have a history of gestational hypertension with my previous pregnancies, so it's really been the biggest hurdle for me, just in planning wise, because that could just pop up at any point. If it is going to pop up at all, if it does, then we can't technically birth at the birth center. We have to birth in the hospital because it requires a little bit of extra monitoring, even though it's never actually developed into preeclampsia or ever been an issue with the delivery in the past. It's still something that would technically opt me out of the birth center or birthing there. The midwives would still take care of me unless something really crazy happened and they needed a higher level of specialized care, aka an OB. But then otherwise they would still deliver me. It just would be in the hospital that they have privileges at. But I'm hoping that that doesn't happen and we just get to deliver at the birth center and then it's all hunky-dory. Other things that we did, one of the things I asked the intended parents to do with me is a birth class. So we had our 3-hour birth class where we just talked about different coping techniques and honestly just a lot about birth etiquette. How do you behave in the birthing room, especially when it's a natural childbirth and there's not an epidural, you're not getting to rest in the bed all hunky-dory. It's hard work and this is how you act and behave and to be less disruptive to the process. Birth is not a spectator sport. It is, hard work. For those of you who've had a baby, it's a lot of hard work. And having someone just sit there and stare at you is really obnoxious. So we talked a lot about that. And just even discussing our comfort levels with each other and our presence together. And just, little things like that. And then just going over for me some different breath techniques to help stay calm during the really intense contractions, which was actually really nice. You would think being a birth doula and a nurse and having done this many times before that I'd be a pro at this. No, I'm not. So even I need a refresher, and and I encourage all of my birth clients, when I'm taking clients, that they should take a birth class, especially if you're planning a natural childbirth, because it is most of the work is the mental prep work in advance. It is intense. And some people have really easy births, and that's great, but you should set your expectations real low. And then if it's anything above that, awesome, fantastic. You didn't have to use all the tools in your toolkit to get through it, right? But if you have a really shitty birth and you were not prepared, you're not going to cope well. It's just not going to happen, right? So I encourage, everyone who's pregnant, even if you're not planning an unmedicated birth, you should still take a class that educates you about your medication options in the hospital so that you can make informed decisions, like when you're ready to get an IV medicine or IM, intramuscular medicine, or an epidural, because those things do have side effects and can affect your birth outcome, and not knowing those things in advance might make you really regretful after the fact if there's an adverse reaction and you weren't prepared and you might have chosen something differently had you known better. You might not have, and that's totally fine. But if you would have, don't you wish you had known in advance? And these are things that I generally talk about with my clients when we're in our prenatal visit. We talk about the kind of birth that they have planned and would like to have, and how do we achieve that. And if they are planning a medicated birth, which again, zero judgment, I've had medicated births. What does that look like for them, for me, my role once they do have their medicines or their epidural, and then, continuing to utilize coping techniques, because sometimes those things don't work. That's the other kicker, or killer. The thing is sometimes you can get epidural and it doesn't happen. It doesn't work. It's placed incorrectly. The meds don't affect you the way that you think that they will, or you have an adverse reaction where they have to take the epidural out and stop the medicine. What if you're allergic to the medicine you didn't know? They got to stop all of that stuff, right? So, what if you plan for all that medicated stuff and then that tool's not there and you can't have it? Then you're just SOL, and totally unprepared for an unmedicated birth. So these are things that I typically talk about with my clients. And that wasn't necessarily what I needed to focus on in a childbirth class with my intended parents. And we needed to focus on unmedicated, and again, what that looks like from an outside perspective, and then how for them to be supportive partners, even if that means just not being in the room. Like if you're uncomfortable, through the nitty gritty stuff, then don't be there, right? It's totally okay if you're like, I need to step out because this is like well past my comfort level. And I would say that might have been the case for one of the dads. And that's totally fine. Like my feelings are hurt. I may not even want them in the room once things happen and start getting rolling. Who knows? We'll see. But so that's where we're at. And the next couple of things that are coming up is just our continued prenatal visits. We had one today and baby sounded great. My belly is growing the way it's supposed to, so no indicators of intrauterine growth restrictions, IUGRs, the abbreviation for that. And then we still have our prenatal visit with our doulas where we'll kind of hash out the ins and outs of when I go into labor and when to call everyone, call them, my doula, the midwife, yada yada, who calls who and who'd be in contact with, and what happens in different scenarios, like if I'm home by myself and my husband's at work and I've got the 2 kids, and kind of going over all those things. Anyways, so we'll go over just those minor technicalities in our prenatal visit. And then it's just hanging and cooking until this baby is born, which I really hope this baby sticks to my current record of 37 weeks, because both of mine I delivered at 37 weeks, because I'm uncomfortable, you guys. She presses on my bladder and keeps her feet in my ribs, and it's just, I don't sleep good, I have heartburn, back pain, normal pregnancy stuff. The insomnia continues to be an issue, so I don't get a lot of sleep, and I'm like, oh man, it could be, obviously if she's not done cooking, don't come out any sooner than you're ready, but you could be done cooking at 37 weeks and I would be fine with that, right, little girl? So anyways, here's my belly. You like my gym top / pajama shorts? Isn't this great? This is what my life has come to, you guys. I'm a mess. Both my kids have been sick recently, and so I'm a little bit of a mess. My house is a disaster. I haven't done any cleaning. I've been in survival mode for the last week and a half, 2 weeks with my sick kids, and just being busy as shit with my referral doula agency. Networking and anyways, all this other stuff. I keep myself busy, y'all. Either taking care of the house, taking care of the fam, still working in the ER, still running my doula business, and then cooking a human being for another couple. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyways, this is where we're at. And so anyways, that's where we are right now. I will keep y'all posted, and I'll let you know how our next visits go, and I'll definitely let you know how our visit with our doulas go, and if there are any interesting topics that come up with that. Ooh, something that was interesting that came up in our childbirth education class, I'm glad I thought about this, was delayed cord clamping. So if you've never had a baby, you don't know anything about birth, delayed cord clamping is after the baby's born, the placenta is still attached to the uterus, and there's still blood in the umbilical cord. Studies have shown that leaving the umbilical cord unclamped and uncut and waiting until it's done pulsating, which means the baby's getting all the blood from the umbilical cord from mom, still getting pumped to them and through them, have lots of benefits for babies. Increased iron, increased oxygen. So, technically, ideally, if this were like my baby, I would obviously do skin to skin, right? And I would leave the cord in uncut and intact and let it at least get completely white. But this isn't my baby, right? And I'm sure the dads are super duper eager to meet and hold their baby. So, we hadn't really talked about it in super depth about what they would want, but ultimately that's up to them. Obviously know the benefits of it, and if they want to decide to let the cord finish pulsating, which is typically on average like 3 to 5 minutes. Sometimes it can be longer until it's completely white, but usually it's not super duper long, but they might be really excited and want to hold their baby, right? So if they wanted to opt to cut the cord right away, then that's their choice. And so that's just something like that came up, and in that moment of, after baby's born, then what, is just that minor technicality of, this may be beneficial, but it may not be something that they care enough about because they want to hold their own baby and do skin to skin right away and all that fun stuff. So that was something interesting. Like, I hadn't really thought too much about it. To me, it's just like something instinctively I would have done and would do. But that might not be something that they want to do. So that's kind of, again, one of those things where ultimately it is their decision because it's their baby. And they're allowed to want to hold their baby. So there's that. So that was, anyways, just an interesting topic to come up in the discussion on our childbirth education. So anyways, just little things you don't think about. Anyways, I will stop talking and let y'all go and see you next time. Bye.